Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the 119th episode of the Athletes Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, joining us, watching YouTube podcast, wherever you're consuming the AP content. We appreciate it. Pretty dandy of an episode with Henry Lee, golfer on the LA PGA Tour. But first, let's talk about a little sports news. Jordan, you know, this big athletic event that just went on, thing called the Masters. Had a bunch of golfers interested. It seems like everyone between the age of 15 to 40 has picked up the sport of golf and is interested. As Scottie Scheffler took home the green jacket, -10. Pretty phenomenal performance.
He had a pretty demanding lead, no?
The whole weekend.
I just remember,
He dominated basically start to finish.
Unbelievable.
Had a comfortable lead, to say the least, on the 18th hole, so it didn't really matter at that point. But what was cool was seeing Rory finish -7. He had an incredible round, the best Sunday round on the Masters. I believe he was 7 under on the day. It might have been, I don't know. We'll have to correct on that. Anyway, our two picks, Will Zalatoris and Corey Connors, the Canadian, both finished tied for 6th at -3.
Hey, you know what? we're good pickers, I guess.
I think that was pretty good considering field of 140 to start. It's, I'll take it.
Even with we were looking at the rankings. Corey Connors was, what did you say, 15th or something?
20th, I think, heading in.
So, no, not bad at all.
He's a good ball striker. We take care in what we provide as far as content and who we pick. We value, making sure that you guys have and hold our opinions highest. Exactly. What else is starting? NBA playoffs getting underway soon. Toronto Raptors, they're opening up. Jurassic Park should be a blast. I'm sure we're going to go to at least one of those games.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the traffic's crazy, but it's worth it, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is why we moved to Toronto, Jordan. Yeah. Come on. We got to enjoy these aspects of the city.
What do you think? Think we can take on the Sixers?
Yeah, Shaq thinks we're going to get swept. I think that's kind of BS, if I'm being frank. I think this Raptors team's scrappy, defensively strong. I think despite James Harden and Joel Embiid being a factor, I think this team's set up for success. It wouldn't surprise me if they have a great series and potentially sneak out a win as the underdogs.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that we're going to have the same season as we had, 3-4 years back now, obviously. But definitely winning a round or two is just huge for this super young team. So
I think it's just an amazing opportunity for the Raptors to build some energy and momentum here. They've gotten to the playoffs. I think they're probably feeding off the energy that the Leafs have.
Yeah, exactly.
I know they got a guy who's on pace to put up some serious numbers.
Yeah, he's at 58 goals, and I believe in the past 15, 20 years we saw Steven Stamkos do it. He put up in 2011, 2012, 60 goals. Ovechkin, 2007, 2008, he put up 65 goals. Both those guys played a full 82 games, though. I'm a Leaf fan, so, in my opinion, Matthews is the best player to touch the ice in the NHL. But that's just what I got to say. But, I mean, for his 67 games played, he's put 58. The question right now, I don't think is will he get 65. The question is will he get 70.
Yeah, I mean, his goals per game rate is .86. Yeah, I'm sure he's going to put up another 12 and – what, does he have 8 games left in the season? I mean, hey, probably crazier things have happened. Yeah. And you know what? I'm not a betting man, but I would say that I'd put my money on the under on that one, put it that way. You know who I'm not putting my money on the under on is Conor Bedard, scoring 50 goals. He's at 49 right now as of this recording. He's got 3 regular season home games left.
Honestly, I feel like maybe not on a weekly basis, but every couple weeks, every month, we're seeing a post on TSN with him scoring an absolute nasty goal.
He is lighting up that league pretty phenomenally, to say the least. I can't wait to see what he puts together as far as seasons in the future. And whatever team's lucky enough to draft him, I just know it won't be the Leafs because they don't do well with first rounders.
You know what? The goal, just get out of the first round. Stop playing with my emotions for so long.
I wonder, are the Leafs going to make it out of the first round? Is there a chance they don't? I think
they're up against the Bruins, so
you've got to love that.
Okay, right now I'm pretty sure it's locked in. It's basically Boston, Tampa Bay, or Florida Panthers. I want to play the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, you guys are screwed either way. I'm not gonna lie to you. Those are good teams.
Dave's not gonna go to the.
I just don't.
Arena for that.
I'm not gonna go to a team to support them losing. Sorry, that isn't in my motto. We'll transition over though supporting, talking about Team Canada. Stephanie Labbé, Canadian female women's soccer gold medalist, just announced her retirement today, actually. Wanted to give her a shout for all of the work that she did with our national team and brought home a bronze medal, most recently a gold medal.
That was an exciting moment for Canada.
We like our attendees, so we had to give her a shout out. And then in MLB news, Alyssa Nakken became the first female to be an on-field coach, rocking the first base coach duties for the San Francisco Giants Tuesday night, where they won the game 10-1.
Killed it.
Phenomenal job again. I think what's cool right now is the fact that we're in a place at sport where people are breaking down barriers left, right, and center. It feels like these news updates come on a frequent basis, and frankly, that's what we need to see and continue to see for women's sport to have an impact. Let's talk a bit about today's episode featuring Henry Lee. Figured Masters Week, we got to have a golfer on. Brought back Henry, who's been a stud basically for the decade and a bit that I've known of him in the sport of golf. Lower Mainland, everyone talked about this kid. Henry Lee knew he was going places. He's well on his way to getting to that PGA Tour and getting his card. But, we talked about some of the progress, the transitions, the changes, what his routines look like nowadays compared to 10 years ago, having to listen to a bunch of buddies chirping his backswing. Like, what was your favorite part?
You know what? I have to say two things. Just a quick one. It's really cool. Like, you had a buddy of yours on back in BC, so it's cool to see you guys like talk about the past and like your golfing experiences with him and how I think you and him were talking that it's been since grade 12 since you last talked. So it's cool, to see that. And also just how we talked about how he grinded back at home. He had a dream, he had a goal. He wants to become a professional. He is a professional golfer. He wants to be on the PGA. And it sounded like back then he was grinding. Right now it's still a goal of his. And if he keeps at it, nothing can stop him.
Yeah, the world's his oyster at this point. That's the best part about featuring athletes. What we're trying to do here on a weekly basis is shine light on some of the individuals that don't necessarily get all of the credit or all of the media attention, but likely deserve a ton of it. This week's episode featuring Henry Lee definitely deserves it. Hope you enjoy this episode, number 119 of the Athletes Podcast. Here we go. For sure it was. It was like, that was, at the time, the biggest thing for us as far as athletic competition within the sport of golf, right? And we had, those are some wild times. Yeah, I'm sure you remember having Eric McDonald running around and having to deal with his smart ass.
I still remember him. Like, we play like a decent amount of golf together, and I remember every time it's just so funny, and just had a good time when I was playing with him. So it's always good to think back and remember those times for sure.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, I'm curious. You mentioned the fact that it's something that you look back on and you're like, those were the days, and it was fun. There wasn't pressure. You were just going out there and hitting the golf ball. Are you still able to have fun with the sport like that, or is it all just head down, nose grind? Like,
honestly, I just try to keep the same mentality. Like, I wanna, for me, if I'm not having fun playing golf, like, it's just like, it's hard for me to like practice, or it's hard for me to like enjoy competition. So like, honestly, like yes, it's a little more stressful now because I guess it's my job. It's how I'm gonna be able to like put food, like it's pretty much like just make money. But at the end of the day, it's still the same sport I'm playing. I would play back then, and I just try to enjoy it. And honestly, like, it's been so much fun just learning a lot. It's a whole new transition to playing from junior golf to college, and then from college to pro. You play with so many different guys. You learn from so many older guys who've been out on this tour for 5-10 years. And honestly, like, I'm still learning. I'm 23. I just started like 4 or 5 months ago, and there's still a lot of room to improve, and I'm excited. Like, it's exciting times.
Yeah, it's super exciting times. I mean, you're telling me that you've had the opportunity in college to play with guys like Scottie Scheffler and Colin Morikawa. Like, just that on its own is cool to be able to now watch them in the Masters. Scottie's leading at 8 under right now. Like, you talk about that transition, junior to college golf, and now at the pro level. Like, what are some pieces of advice that you'd give for golfers going through that transition now as a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old looking to make that next jump?
I mean, for me, like from junior golf to college, like I see a lot of guys who like in junior golf like played because their parents kind of like made them, or like played or practiced because like they kind of had to. Luckily for me, that wasn't the case, and like I kind of did it because I wanted to. My parents were honestly like, if golf's not what you want to do, like they are completely okay. And I was lucky enough for that, and you just gotta enjoy it because it's a brutal game. It's long, like I mean every round it's long. You're by yourself a lot, especially in the game of golf, and just you and pretty much your head. And if you don't enjoy it, if you're not happy doing what you do, it's really hard. And on days where you don't want to practice, or for me, like when I don't want to practice, I just take the day off, rather than trying to force myself to go. Like it just That's how I'm gonna get better every day. Like if I need a day to completely refresh, take my mind off of golf, I'll do it. Um, and there's honestly like there is no people shouldn't rush, especially when you're young. I mean, everyone matures at different ages, and like just the fact that like there are many different ways to get to college and then to the pros. Like there's no like one path to get there, and like I would just say you just gotta enjoy it, have fun, do what you like love doing, and kind of go from there.
It's good to hear that you weren't like forced into it. I actually just started watching the Tiger documentary, and it's pretty eye opening to see kind of what he was almost forced into, brainwashed into becoming as like ultimately like the greatest golfer of all time. Most will say, at least, but it was crazy. You know, I'm only 25 minutes in, but you just see like as soon as he was able to, he had a golf club in his hands and he was swinging that thing up on stage. It was wild. I don't know what does that make you think of when you watch it?
Yeah, it's definitely like I guess Tiger is I mean, he had the physical talent, but I'm pretty sure his dad was pretty hard on him when he was younger, and like I mean, I wouldn't say he was forced, but like I mean, he knew he was good, and at the same time, like he worked so hard. He still does. Just kind of shows that like I'm sure Tiger. I mean, he's probably the hardest worker in golf history, and at the same time, like with the talent to go for it. And I'm sure his parents backed him up and knew that he was. I mean, people we can't really assume he's gonna turn into the player he became, but you could assume that he has something special in him, and it's just super cool just to see him back now. Like I was like I had goosebumps on his when he was hitting that first tee shot back at the Masters. I was like, he's actually back, and it's just
I
It was one thing, I think it was 13 months ago that he had that car crash injury, almost lost his right leg, and to think now he's out competing and has a chance, right? That's all he needs. He's a scary guy on the weekend. You never know what he's going to be able to do, but I think to your point there, I think he knew. There's a part of that interview where it talks about he's like, man, I could be bigger than Jack Nicklaus for the sport of golf because, and I think his quote, I could be bigger. I can't remember, but he essentially equated himself to being the Michael Jordan of golf. And it's like, man, this guy at whatever age he was in that clip knew it and he believed it from that moment. And obviously it paid dividends because he is where he is now and he's still the best. I don't know. Who else do you look up to, watch? Who did you idolize growing up?
um like Tiger would be the number one guy. But then other than that, like honestly, I really enjoy like McElroy.
mhm.
Just kind of like the player he is and kind of the guy he is off the course as well. I feel like he's the most genuine guy when it comes to like giving interviews. He's the most honest, and people like to hear that. And like he doesn't try to like make it sound glamorous of everything that goes on. And if he'll tell you straight up what he feels, and I like that a lot. And honestly, his swing it's hard to beat. I could watch that thing on repeat all day, and he's definitely one guy I really look up to in terms of because he's like at the age where kind of like that's when I started watching a lot of golf. Is pretty much around his era when he came onto the tour on the big stage, and I would say McElroy is definitely one of the players I've looked up to the most I guess in the current era of players.
Right. And then obviously you go through South. Where were you technically when you were growing up? I was in South Surrey. Where were you?
I was in Coquitlam.
Coquitlam. Okay, I'm trying to think of what courses you were playing around there. Like, were you at Swanee Set? That's where you're probably host going. Yeah.
In Westwood Plateau is where I grew up playing.
Sick.
A bunch of us, we played that par 3 course. Like, that's pretty much how I like really fell in love. Like AJ Ewart, like he's out of Barrie now.
Yeah.
I mean, we played there like every day after school. Like at like 3:00, we'll go up there, hit like 50 balls, go up, play 9, and then chip and putt and have little competitions. And you kind of fall in love with what you do there. And that's pretty much how I really felt like I wanted to play. Is honestly at Westwood Plateau. It's kind of crazy. Like I still drive there once in a while, just kind of see. I'm like, things have changed, and at the same time, like it's cool to bring back memories, just like where everything kind of started for me.
It is crazy, and I think that's probably why you developed such a refined game at such a young age, because you were practicing every single day. You're out there working on your short game. It's so important. A ton of people, myself included, get locked into wanting to hit the ball super far and having the best long drives and whatever. And it's like, okay, it doesn't matter if you're 60 yards into the woods on the left or right side of the fairway. So obviously it paid off for you. I remember days like Kevin Smith and I were back at Peace Portal, and we were chipping and putting, doing those competitions all the time. That was when my short game was the best, because at least we got to practice against someone who was really good. But Swanee Set was that's also where, what movie was filmed there? Happy Gilmore, the one I should know. That's the claim to fame. It was a pretty cool one. I loved playing that course in, was it Zone 3, Zone 4 events? Those were the best. Like you said, MJTs, you got to have everyone, all your buddies were around chirping. You had Eric McDonald ripping around, yelling during your backswing. I'm sure you loved that.
I mean, you kind of learn. You learn to kind of block out the noise and just stay more focused on what you have to do. Because I mean, it's all fun back then, and yeah, I mean, playing those events kind of helped me become. I guess I learned a lot back then,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I'm still learning, but it kind of like pointed my start of my career, I guess, back then.
Yeah, you probably don't get any nervous, intimidated, worried at all, because you've handled it all growing up. That's awesome. Yo, so okay, 2 wins at Georgetown and Arizona Intercollegiate, sorry. 14 top 10 finishes, like ridiculous numbers from a university collegiate standpoint. Can you talk to me about what the University of Washington was like, your experience there? I'd love for you to dive in and share kind of what that college experience south of the border was like for you, coming from Canada.
Yeah, like for me, I knew I always wanted to go to school in the States. That's kind of where I wanted. I wanted to be close to home, but also just far enough. And honestly, like ever since I was young, like University of Washington, UW was like my number one choice, I would say. Because Kevin Kwan, he was also out of Swanee Set. He was an unbelievable player, and I looked up to him, and he went there, and I was like, damn, this is where I want to go to school. And I was lucky enough where I got recruited pretty early, and I guess I committed when I was in grade 10. Grade 10. Yeah, so I committed verbally, waited until I could officially sign my senior year, and it was nice to know that I had a place to play like pretty early on. It took the stress off of my junior golf. I just kind of just kept enjoying what I do, and then by the time UW rolled around, like 2016 fall was when I went to school. It was awesome. Like weather is, I mean, it's not the greatest weather. It's exactly like Vancouver, maybe a little bit warmer, less rain, but it's very similar. But courses we played at were incredible. Like there was so much fun. It was hard. I definitely got a lot better. And then on top of that, like my coaches, my teammates that I played with all 5 years, like I learned a lot as a freshman looking up to the seniors, because I had Kevin, and I also had Corey Pereira, who's out on the Corn Ferry right now and doing really well. And then I also had Carl Yuan, who's actually number 1 on the points list on the Corn Ferry right now. He was my teammate for 2 years, and definitely learned a lot from him, because we grew up. And then I guess he took me under his arms, and I spent a lot of time with him getting better. But honestly, like it was the best thing for me to go down there. Learned a lot, got better on and off the golf course. Learned a lot about myself, and I mean, for a school we play a lot of really good tournaments, and at the same time, like that's how I feel like I will get better is playing a lot of tournaments, especially strong ones, and seeing other people and kind of competing against them. Because like at the end of the day, I always want to beat everybody I play against. Like there's just nothing against it. So it was an easy decision for me. I honestly didn't really once I got the offer, I was like, I didn't really look at any other schools. I was like, this is where I'm gonna go, and I'm pretty much set on going there. And it's the best decision I've made my entire life, I'd say.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And yeah, okay. So let's peel back some layers to the onion. You've got some incredible players around you, both at UW and then at the tournaments that you're going to watching. What are some of the differences that differentiate like the top players? Because you guys are all out there practicing, grinding hours of the day on the range, practicing your putting, chipping, whatever it is. But there's just another level that some guys have and another gear. Can you maybe describe what it is and what's allowed you to see success?
Yeah, like from what I've seen guys who absolutely bomb it, and I've also seen guys who just don't miss. And it's like a great example is like Carl. He was one of the best drivers of the golf ball I've seen. Would just hit it so far and so straight, and he knew that and took advantage of that. He knew his strengths and weaknesses, and that's what I feel like is different. But like the biggest difference between the best players and the really good players, just because everyone in college, from what I've seen, hits it incredible. Everyone hits it so good, but the best players know their strengths and weaknesses, and they play their games based on that rather than like trying to change their game to a certain way or trying to do something that's uncomfortable for them. And just because the margins are so small at that level, and just to see like different guys who could win in different ways. You gotta bomb and gouge a golf course, or you could just play precisely. Like it's just you gotta know what's best for you, and just kind of like work on your game that way, rather than trying to just try to become like somebody else. And that's what I've noticed from the best players I've played with, whether it was my teammates or just the players that from other schools. Like they're just that much more like, I guess, more dialed in terms of like they know what they have to do to score the best. And at the end of the day, it's all mental. um Physical skill, it's very like it's so hard to tell who's like really really good or not. I mean, everyone's so good. It's just in between the years, that's the biggest difference, I would say, too. Like you just gotta know who you are and kind of work from there is, I guess, the biggest difference for me from what I've noticed.
So what are some of the things that you do to remain sane between the ears? Because that's something that every golfer, for the most part, struggles with at one point or another, whether it's the yips, whether it's just doubting yourself, whether it's a lack of practice that's leading to you not having the confidence to hit that shot. But, having been playing the sport for, nearly 2 decades yourself, what are some things that's brought you the ability to stay composed during stressful situations?
I mean, I work with a sports psychologist from Canada. Like, she's our main sports psychologist for the national team, and she's been incredible in terms of like, I just whenever I need her, she's always there for me, and we kind of work on. For me, it's more about like just knowing, like just feeling comfortable. That's when I play my best golf. So leading up to events, I'll usually have like a plan every day of what I want to accomplish each day. And when I know I got all that done and I head into the tournament, I feel so much more confident rather than like just going out there and just, I guess, just doing what, like, not having a plan that doesn't really like suit well for me. That's kind of what we noticed as she noticed in me, and kind of that's kind of how I prepare for tournaments. And also at the same time, like for me, like when I'm playing an event, I'm not feeling great. Like it's just more about like just breathing and just taking time to kind of like get my mind back together to this present rather than thinking about the past or the future. Like that's gotta be like my two big keys that I've been working on with my sports psychologist. And I mean, it's still it's still really hard. There are times where you just kind of feel like it's just spiraling away, but I mean, golf's a learning game, and I'm still learning other players. So that's kind of what I want to work on most, honestly. And like, I guess going forward is my mental game as well.
I think I saw some quote. I shared it on my Facebook, I think, or something. Maybe Jordan can find it. But it was one of the coolest parts about the sport of golf is the fact that every shot gives you a new opportunity to make up for what happened or see success immediately. Like, you could have the worst shot of your life and still theoretically make par if you chip it in or whatever, right? Like, that aspect, it's a cool analogy when you look at it from, like a life almost, like every day is a new day, right? And every shot's a new opportunity to see that come to fruition. And I don't know, it stuck with me. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think for you, that's probably a mentality that you have to keep in the back of your mind all the time, because you're hitting how many shots every single day. They're not all going to be perfect.
Exactly. And I kind of had to learn, like, people are going to make mistakes. You're never going to be perfect. Like, bad shots do happen. It's more about like how you react to it and how you go along with it. And because at the end of the day, if you hit a bad shot, like, what are you going to do about it? It happened. Like, it's not like you're going to have a time machine and go back and do it again. It's just more about learning, and I guess not making the same mistake in the future is kind of what I had to kind of learn myself. Because like, obviously I don't want to miss a golf shot, but it's just a reality that I will hit, like, honestly, more shots that I would like to in a tournament round or a tournament. But it's just, that's how I need to learn to adapt to that, and kind of learn in that everyone will make mistakes out there.
Yeah, Jordan just sent me the quote. It's from Harold Varner III. It says, "Just approach every shot with an opportunity to do something good." I try to do that every day. I liked it. I think you summarized it well there. You know who else recovered from a couple bad innings was the Blue Jays last night. I know you were griffing at the end of your seat watching the game from Arizona. What did you think of the season opener?
Game one, and it's got to be the game of the year, I would say. Like, it had like a postseason atmosphere, and I mean, I didn't miss a single pitch because all the hype around. I mean, I've been a Blue Jays fan for as long as I can remember, but at the same time, like, also like having the hype around the whole team this year with, I mean, you got guys 1 through 9 in the batting order who could bat 300 and hit dingers all day for an entire year, and you got the pitching staff too. So I was so excited, and when they got up to that, they were down 7-0 after 3 innings. I was like, oof, this might be one you just take an L and move on. You got 161 after this, but I mean, to see them come back, I guess it kind of shows you, like, I could learn from that in terms of like resilience, like, whatever happens in the first couple holes. Even Tiger yesterday, he was forward through the first 5 holes in the wind and played the amen corner well, and I mean, grinded out a 2-over to make the cut. Like, it's the best teams, best players will do that, and just seeing that, it just, I guess it motivates me that whether you have a good start or a bad start, like, there's always room to improve, and you could always make something special happen that day. And I guess both Tiger and the Blue Jays did that yesterday, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it was crazy. Jordan and I were both at the game, actually. The atmosphere was low after the first 3 innings. 7-0 was not the start that they were looking for, but couple hits. I know Vladdy got in there, got the people going, and then had that one. Was it a grand slam or 3-run home run? Was there a 3-run home run? Yeah, 3-run home run. Man, I don't know. It was a blur. May have had a couple pints, but at the end of the day, it was a great game to be at. Incredible electric atmosphere. I think, like you said, that 1 through 9, they have players on that team that can rip the baseball, and it's going to be a fun team to be able to watch for the entire season. They're going to hit a lot of home runs here at the Rogers Center. I'm excited for it. But I don't know. I think it's cool to hear that you have been a baseball fan your whole life, Jays fan specifically. I know you're into basketball as well. Can you tell me about maybe your hobbies outside of golf that you can tie parallels to and maybe gain some experience and knowledge and even just like hand-eye coordination from other sports? Because I think that's one thing athletes, we get so focused in, and you see people like Tiger who are incredible because that's all they've done their whole life. But I also think that having a multi-sport approach, especially when you're young, is extremely valuable.
Like, I mean, for me, like, I grew up a sports fan. Like, I didn't watch any of like the cartoons or any of that. Like, ever since I was young, I watched a sports channel, honestly, more than anything. Um, I just love, like, honestly, like golf, like I watch it, but I don't watch it as much as other sports. I honestly, like, when I'm off the golf course, I'm like, I can't have my mind be just golf 24/7. I want to like have fun. And for me, like others, watching other sports, playing other sports is what really excites me. So when I was young, I played a lot of basketball. Like I didn't play baseball as much. I watched a ton. But just even like going snowboarding, and that's just anything other than golf is what I really love doing outside of it. Just because like I spent so much time at the golf course. I'm like, I don't want to come back and be like, oh, like I want to watch 4 more hours of golf. It's more like I would rather do something else where I could have a lot of like a smile or just kind of learn from that, because you could learn from other sports as well. Like for me, like basketball is like I would say my favorite sport to watch.
Okay.
And just kind of like I used to watch. I mean, I used to watch way too much basketball, I would say. And my phone is literally just like all my Instagram is just highlights or just I would just scroll through hours of just like I guess like players like in their like specific plays or just the entire game like highlights. That's pretty much what really excites me, gets me more excited, because I mean sometimes I think I'm like it would be pretty cool to play golf with like one of these guys like when I'm older, because everyone's playing golf now after, especially after COVID. Like it's the biggest growing sport, I would say. And I'm like, dang, like playing golf with Steph Curry, like that'd be the dream.
Dude.
Like one day, like I would love to do that once in like sometime in my life. And like for me, like I gotta do what I really enjoy rather than just be so focused on one thing. And that's why I feel like I love sports. It's a way for me to get out and take my mind off of it.
100%. I love it. We'll make it happen. Okay. I can't guarantee Steph Curry off the hop, but I think we actually are putting in the works of putting in an AP golf tournament. So we'll have to get you up here for that. Hopefully, if it's probably around August, if you're up in Canada, we might have to fly you in for a special appearance. But we'll get you. That's actually we're getting some Rolo Golf podcast shirts made too. So this is like I'm just throwing everything here right now because we're chatting about it and it's golf and it's Masters Week. But yeah, some pretty exciting things happening, and that's the plan. I think we're gonna have one athlete in each of the groups, so like 3 people from the public, whoever wants to join, come in, and then athletes who we've featured on the show will come on and be that one, celeb individual in each group. So it could be a fun time. It could be an opportunity to meet some people. Get you up here. We'll play some Ontario courses. Not quite as nice as like what you get on the West Coast. Sorry, but we'll make it up to you. Maybe have a couple pints afterwards. That'll keep the smile on your face, right? Right. Hey, and that's the thing. Like it's a really good point, because you have people like Michael Jordan and Steph Curry who reference the fact that basketball is easy compared to golf. They're like flabbergasted at what golfers can do. And I actually do really appreciate the fact that my parents put me into golf at a young age, because it's a sport that you can play your entire life. Like you said, everyone's playing it, getting into it. So the fact that we're better than average makes it way more fun playing. I mean, I still get pissed off occasionally when I shank one into the woods, but it's not as frequent as some of my friends,
I mean, it's crazy to see how like golf is so big now. Like you can't even get onto courses without booking them so early, like in advance. And I guess there's the goods and bads to it. Obviously, I want to go out there and have, I guess, the tee sheet open. But I mean, it is the era we live in now, so I gotta kind of adapt to that. But it's cool to see golf being so big and all other athletes playing in, celebrities, or even just anybody playing it. It's super cool to see.
Right. I think it's something that it was looked at as a kind of posh sport for the last, I don't know, 50, 100 years, because it was an expensive sport to play, between the equipment, having to get onto courses, traveling to them. Now the barriers to entry are getting lower and lower for the most part. And I think people are realizing that it's a sport that you can play for your entire life. So it's pretty cool. I would be remiss if we didn't ask about kind of your plans, your goals, what you have in there, if you're willing to share some of them. I know as an athlete, you're probably always striving to become, 1% better every single day, but do you have some numbers or figures or ways that you try and hold yourself accountable as well? I'm curious, like, what your routines look like and how you're striving to get to that next level and putting it in order.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, it's always been a goal of mine to play in the PGA Tour, and that'll always be my goal until I get there. And once I get there, obviously, I'll have bigger and better goals I would want to accomplish. But like, I guess for me, like right now, I'm on the Latin America tour, and then as well as Canada, and there are pretty much 3 steps you have to go through to get to the PGA Tour, and it's pretty much graduating from this tour and then going to the Corn Ferry, and then from Corn Ferry to the PGA. So like, I want to take it one step at a time, and like obviously, ideally, it would be like a 3-year process where 1 year in the Latin, 1 year in the Corn Ferry, and you're in the PGA Tour. But in reality, like that's not always the case. I mean, so many of the best players spend multiple years kind of understanding what kind of player they are and how like it. At the end of the day, there's only 5 tour cards out of 100 or 200 plus guys on each tour, and every time you go up a tour, competition is ridiculous. So like I gotta understand, like I'm not gonna rush myself. Kind of had a little slow start so far. We played 5 events. I mean, I've played solid. Just I mean, I know I can play a lot better, and I will. And it kind of goes back to my routine and how I will handle things. Like I'm not gonna change things just because results aren't as good as I want it. I gotta do what's best for me, and for me is, I guess, like I like to wake up early, get my stuff like outside stuff, like all golf stuff done before I head to the course, and then once I'm at the course, I guess be 100% focused on what I want to do and get better. Like you said, 1% better every day is kind of what my college coach kind of put that into our heads. Kind of like no matter what it is, like whether it's you practice golf or you do something, you want to get 1% better every day. And if you do, at the end of the year, you can look back and be like, wow, like I accomplished incredible things that year. And for me, like having a very similar day where I wake up early, practice, work out, come back and sleep early. That's like, it gets kind of repetitive. But honestly, I like repetition. It's sometimes like, it's a little boring at times, but at the end of the day, this is what I really would love and what I want to keep doing. So I kind of learned if I keep doing that and get better that way, it's going to pay off for me in the long run.
100%. I think one guy to mention there with Corn Ferry Tour, Adam Svenson, also Canadian. He's been lighting it up too, so hopefully it'll be cool. I think our Canadians, we're starting to showcase what we got. We got Corey Connors up there playing well. He's a ball striker if I've ever seen one. You talk about like your tournaments, daily routine. You like repetition. Let's go through it. Like morning, what's for breakfast? Are you throwing back a couple eggs, toast? Like what's going on when you head to the range? Are you starting off your low irons, your short game? Like walk us through that day of like, Thursday, your tee time's at 2:00. What are you doing? What time are you waking up? Let's go through it.
So like, I guess for me, like whether it's a tournament day or not, or just practice day, I wake up at 6 usually. I set an alarm, but I'm usually up before that. I wake up at 6, and I guess on days I'm not preparing for events where I'm just practicing for myself. I wake up at 6, kind of make myself a cup of coffee, and just kind of like, I guess, book hotels or flights or just look into those things or tournaments that I could play in. Obviously, I'll eat a pretty big breakfast. I like to eat.
Okay.
So I'll usually make a pretty big, like 5-6 egg omelet with bread and some bacon. That's kind of my go-to standard. And I'll usually make a protein smoothie as well on top of that. Like for me, like breakfast is, if I have a full stomach in the morning, it gets me going. And then I'll usually head over to the course at around 7:30, 8:00. Go out there, and I'll usually have like a plan of what I want to do, I guess the night before. Whether it's I want to focus more on putting or chipping or ball striking or all the above. I'll have a goal of like, I guess, a general idea of how much time I would like to spend and doing what drills. because I would rather do drills and try to like compete against myself rather than just go along with the motion. Like I just feel like it's kind of like a waste of repetition for me if I'm not doing something that kind of like forces me, it puts a little more pressure on myself, because at the end of the day, tournaments is all about playing under pressure. So that's kind of how I do that. And then I'll play 9 or 18. I'll try to play it almost every day, just depending on, I guess, the tee sheet and kind of what it looks like. And then after that, I'll go. It'll be around 3 o'clock, and I'll have lunch after my practice or during my practice, and then all that. And then I'll like to go work out right after practice instead of come back home. Because once I come back home, I'm like, I don't want to go back out. So I bring my gym clothes with me, and I go straight to the gym. Spend an hour and a half working out. Just I like to at the gym, like it'll be golf related at the same time. Sometimes, like, I mean, you want to look good as well. So I try to do a good mixture of both, where I could look good and also be beneficial for golf. That's kind of what I do. And then come back pretty much. And after that, I'm pretty much gassed. I'll be so tired, and to do anything, I'll turn on some sports, make dinner, and I'll sleep. I'll be in bed by 8:30. Try to sleep at 9. And it's a little different for tournament days, just because, I mean, you have a tee time you want to prepare for. But even then, I'll wake up at 6, and then I'll head over to the course like an hour and 15, and to kind of stretch and kind of get ready then. But before tournament rounds, it's more about just getting loose rather than getting like working on your game, because I feel like I should be ready to play events when I'm there, rather than I don't want to work on stuff when I'm at events.
Yeah, makes sense. So you're not going the full Bryson DeChambeau route and trying to put on like 30 pounds of muscle, but you still want to look good if you got to take the tarps off, right?
I'm not chasing distance really. I know I'm never gonna be the biggest hitter out there. So it's just more about like, I just want to be strong. And I've had some lower back pain when I was in college, and my trainer told me like I need to kind of strengthen up my back and my glutes, and that's kind of what I focus a lot in terms of like when I need to, in terms of golf. That's where I know that injuries will hurt a career, and I don't want that to be how I look back at it. So to kind of prepare for that, I'll kind of work on kind of strengthening my lower back, because that's kind of been my Achilles heel for me in terms of injuries back in college.
Okay. And what are you doing, like squats, deadlifts? Like, give us a rundown on what that training looks like.
So I'll try to squat, whether it's goblet or like barbell, like it's just some sort of squats to kind of get the glutes, and then like lunges, a lot of those. Those are kind of like my go-to, kind of keep it, I guess, like sharp. And then I'll do a lot of like rows as well for my upper back. Like just different types of like rows, just because, I mean, I know like it's not the strongest part of my, I guess, my physique. And for me, like it's important for me to keep that sharp, just so that like it doesn't affect me on the golf course, because playing through injuries is the worst thing to go through. So I don't want to go through that anymore.
Yeah. The biggest, paradigm shifting moment for me, realized kind of grade 11, grade 12, started getting into working out more, and my golf game went the other direction, because I realized you're like, okay, I'm not going to be able to bench press and do bicep curls and shoulder press, and I'm not going to get the same result on the golf course because I can't move as much. My flexibility's gone. And it was a frustrating time, because you're like, man, to your point, I want to look good. I'm in high school. I got all these pressures, and you're like, okay, I have to choose whether I want to look good or whether I want to be able to keep playing golf at a high level. And I obviously chose the first option, which, we'll see how it pans out. But I think like the fact that you're able to still get some workouts in that make you feel good and look good, in addition to being balanced and working on your golf physique as well, is like, that's so good to hear that you've found that, because not a lot of golfers are able to say the least. You talked about basketball. Who's like your favorite guy that you would watch? You see some handles. Are you a Kyrie guy? Are you a Steph guy?
I grew up I grew up a Supersonics fan, and when they went to Oklahoma, I grew up an Oklahoma fan. It's kind of weird because I'm living in Vancouver and Seattle root for Oklahoma City. Like it's you'd never expect it, but I've always been with them. I mean, it's a tough time right now, but I mean, Kevin Durant, he was, I mean, as a basketball player, I mean, I would say he's one of the best to play right now. Still hard feelings for everything he's done the last seven years or so, leaving OKC for Golden State and then I guess to Brooklyn now. I mean, I still love watching him play, watching him kind of just like he kind of blocks out the outside noise and just does what he does, and he does it at a very high level. So he's someone that I really love watching play. Obviously, like Steph, Kyrie, those guys are just magicians. They're just incredible, and you kind of see, like, I'm sure they don't talk about it a lot, but they probably work so hard just to be where they're at, and kind of shows why they're probably one of the best players to play right now.
Yeah, 100%. That's one of the things I try and bring up is like, okay, how hard was it to get there? Because we all see the glam when they're on stage, when they're on playing Christmas Day, but we didn't see the 20 years prior with all the work that went in, the blood, sweat, and tears. People don't realize how much work it takes to get to that top level and be that one of 1%. And I think it's important that we highlight that here on the Athletes Podcast. But your OKC team, you got Shai, you got Lou Dort, a couple of Canadians on there too. Like, this is a pretty good squad. It's a young team. I think they're going to probably see some results here over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and they also have a billion draft picks in the next. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they pan out. I mean, the team's so different from 7 years ago, 10 years ago than what it is now. All the stars have left pretty much, so it's a brand new restart, and I'm excited. Like it's hard right now, but at the end of the day, I gotta kind of look like they're panning out for the future, and that's kind of what I gotta look forward to for that.
Damn, yeah, absolutely. What are some of your favorite courses that you've been able to play? You've got to travel all around the world. I'd love to maybe have your top 3 or top 5 that you've been able to play and favorites that you've lit up.
Oh, there's a ton of courses. We get spoiled in college playing literally the best courses out there. I would say like Isleworth was one of the most unique experiences because you drive in through a gate, and that's where like all the big athletes live. Like Tiger had a house there, Shaq has like a $10 million house there. Like, I mean, you drive in, and it's like a gated community. And there's also like it's a gated community within a gated community, and then the golf course there is just on another level. You don't see a divot out there, which I found and the layout is incredible. So many of the PGA Tour guys are out there practicing. One of the best places I played. Cabo, I played this course, Carencia. Okay. My freshman year, that was an absolute gem. It's like nobody really talks about it just because like I don't think they really host I don't think they even host the college event there anymore. But I mean, just the views you have along with the course and how tricky it is and how hard it plays. It was one of the best experiences for me playing outside of the States for a college event. Was also a really cool experience. And honestly, like our course back in Seattle, Aldera, like that place really like it took a lot out of me in terms of my golf game. It's a brutally hard golf course, but I also learned the most on that playing there and practicing there. They've got ridiculously slopey greens. You learn how to be creative. You learn how to play certain shots. And I feel like I definitely got so much out of that place, and they've got an incredible facility. And honestly, like I can't really I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting so many courses I played, but I mean, I got spoiled. That's what I miss most about college golf as well. The courses we play were just like next level.
Yeah, and you probably weren't having to pay the entry fees as well compared to now as a pro. You got to pay your way, right?
Pay for everything, like yardage books, like and all that, like travel. Like back in college, like everything was paid for, and like I look back, I'm like, wow, like I really played this golf course, and I see how much it is to actually play there just as a guest or just as a just not like a non-member, and it is pricey. So like like I took it for granted a little bit, thinking like, oh, like everything's gonna be great, but you don't like until you get to the PGA Tour, you don't play courses remotely close to what we played in college. It's just a fact. Like the courses in college are almost as good as courses on the PGA Tour, I would say, in terms of how they set it up and how they run the events.
Yeah, for sure. I'm something that I have only been able to see, but I know I've heard from a couple of guys. It's pretty incredible. So I'm glad you got that experience, and I'm glad you had an amazing time at Washington. And dude, it's so sick to reconnect and see how you've continued to progress, man. It's a ton of fun. I love being able to catch up, do this. It's certainly not the first and only time you'll be on. We'll be having you on when you get that PGA Tour card. But the way we wrap up every show, Henry, is that we ask our guests, coach, nutritionist, athlete, whoever's on, what their biggest piece of advice would be. You've given a ton. I think you've also highlighted the fact that if you are going to play college golf, that you need to enjoy all of those years, because you do get stuff paid for. You do have incredible setups. But if you were to narrow it down to one specific thing, what would you give that next gen?
I mean, I keep going back to it, but just enjoy what you do and be happy that you are doing, and don't take anything for granted. I mean, that's my one big advice. And if I could go back in time, I would definitely do more to make myself happier. And I guess I learned slowly, but there are things I would do differently if I could go back in time again.
Okay. Hey, well, you know what? That's the way we learn from our mistakes. Like you said, in golf, that's every shot's that new opportunity. Henry Lee, this has been a blast. Where can people find you on social media if they want to connect, follow along your journey? Because I know that we're giving you the AP bump early here in your career, and it's going to be pretty cool to see what the next 5-10 years comes for you.
I mean, I have an Instagram. It's Henry Lee 0721. I don't really use any other social media, so that's kind of like my one thing I use. But yeah, I'm excited. It was a ton of fun today, and I'm hoping to be back here and hopefully with a Korn Ferry or PGA Tour card really in short period of time.
Love it. I appreciate it, Henry. We'll talk to you soon. Keep in touch. We'll have you out here in August for that tournament, okay? Thank you, folks, for tuning into the 119th episode of the Athletes Podcast featuring Henry Lee. Big ups goes to my boy Henry for coming on the show, sharing his insights, knowledge, expertise. It was cool to reminisce about our days back in British Columbia, swinging the sticks. Was an honor to be able to say I played with him, and now he's playing with guys like Scottie Scheffler, who's winning the Masters, and Colin Morikawa, who's rounding out the top 5. Pretty incredible conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that subscribe, like that, comment on it. Let us know your favorite parts. We're really trying to engage our audience and provide the most value that we possibly can. So any way, shape, or form that you can provide that to us means the world to us, and it will really impact what we do over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So appreciate all of you for coming on, taking the time out of your day to listen, watch, wherever you're consuming the AP content. We appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Bye.